Can you pass me a tissue, please? Thank you.
As long as you don't start crying, yeah?
No.
Although you see that on some of the, some of the thumbnails, like, she cried, he cried. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it just feels a bit wrong to me to do that. I'm here with Ziba. Ziba has actually contacted me through another driving instructor. Nicole put you onto my videos, onto the channel, and you decided to get in contact with me and you wanted to do a mock test. And
Correct.
You have a real test coming up. Do you want to tell people when your test is coming up, or do you want to keep that private?
4 days.
Okay, it's not private. It's in 4 days, so everybody knows. So I've seen you drive. How do you feel about your driving in general?
I'm okay with the observations and making decisions. I'm forgetful.
What do you feel you tend to forget?
Gears.
Gears. Not good if you're driving a manual car. Are you a PhD student right now?
Yes.
I guess part of what you do for a living is incredibly analytical, isn't it?
Yes.
You bring that into your driving, don't you? How does that affect like real world decision making though, if we're really over analytical? And I'm not suggesting that you don't analyze situations because you really need to, but if we're over analyzing things.
It can affect the decision, can slow it down.
And then it can create also indecision. And if we're indecisive in certain situations.
It's risky.
How many hours of driving have you done?
Since February, I think it's been over 20 hours.
Okay, since February.
Yes.
But when did you start?
October 21, I started about 15 hours.
Okay, so we add all that together.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You've done a mock test before?
Once with Nicole.
How did that go?
I had gear faults.
Gear faults. We've already talked about that. As always, like, comment and subscribe because it really does actually boost the channel. It pushes the video out. If you like it, obviously hit the like button. That'd be great. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button too. At all times, I'd like you to follow the road ahead unless I tell you to turn left or turn right. If I need you to turn, I'll tell you in good time. We're going to take in one reversing maneuver, possibly an emergency stop, and I'll be asking you some show me time questions. We're also going to be following road signs on this particular test. How would you check that you have sufficient oil?
I don't get out of the car, right?
No, we're not going to get out of the car today.
I find the stick.
Yes.
Where the oil is. Take it out, wipe it with a cloth, put it back in, and there is high and low marks.
So when we see you next, we'll be starting the test. So whenever you're ready, start your engine.
Checks.
Drive on when you're ready. I've alluded to this in the beginning of the video, but Ziba seems to second guess everything. She's just not confident.
I'm crossing my arms already.
Do you have control?
Yeah.
Which is highlighted here. It's totally fine to cross your hands provided you don't lose control of the vehicle. Worrying about details like this is only going to be a big distraction. Ziba's first junction can be a tricky right turn onto a busy road, but she takes her time, assesses it properly, and makes her move when it comes. It can be tempting on junctions like this to rush, but I strongly advise you don't. If you find yourself waiting for a while, just be patient and wait for the right gap. And at the roundabout, turn right, third exit for me, please.
Okay.
Ziba's approaching her first roundabout, which is the first one I've seen her do, and she actually does very well. But as she goes to exit, she forgets to cancel her signal. She's doing everything right. Approach speed is under control, early observation to the right-hand side. She decides she feels gear 1 is appropriate, but she possibly could have done this in gear 2, and then moves into the space behind this vehicle. And then times her exit signal well just as she goes past the junction, the one before the one she needs. But as I said before, she leaves her signal on, and she passes several junctions. If there had been someone waiting, I would have been forced to tell her to cancel it, but there isn't anyone there, so the signal continues. She's now approaching the second, and she's about to pass the third. She then informs me that she needs to adjust her mirrors.
Can I pull out somewhere because I can't see the car very well in that. I can't see any of the car at all in the right.
Okay. Not setting your car up properly before you start your driving test would result in a driver fault for precautions before you start the engine. And then we pass the third junction with the signal still on.
I should have cancelled that signal earlier.
Okay, I'll get you to find somewhere to pull up in a second, okay?
Even though there is no impact, this is a serious fault for signals. After a short pit stop after Ziba adjusts the mirrors, we're back on the road.
Okay,
When
do you want to adjust that?
I just can't see.
Yeah.
I don't know, when I adjusted it, I was leaning forward maybe, but...
But have you
as I-
noticed you drive leaning quite far forwards?
Yeah.
But when you sit normally, you lean
Yeah, I can't
backwards.
see that. When I lean, I can't see the car much, so...
Ziba does periodically lean quite far forwards, and of course this is going to have an impact when she sits back normally in her seat. I would encourage you to try and sit back in your seat most of the time, only leaning forwards when your view is obstructed. However, if it has no impact over your overall drive, then it's just fine. We're all different, and we all drive differently.
At the roundabout, turn right for me, please.
Ziba is approaching a mini roundabout, which she again handles well. She checks both mirrors, signals, positions well, and takes the gap when it comes. It's relatively busy, but she seems unfazed, which is a good thing. And with a gap on her right, even though the cars ahead moved forwards, she moves confidently into the roundabout. Under the bridge, the road gets a bit tight and she positions the car well. This has been a good start by Ziba. Apart from the signal, which was obviously a big mistake, she's actually doing very well.
So dark here.
Underneath the bridge, yes.
As she comes around this corner, she's aware of the hazards ahead and reduces speed to avoid confrontation. Again, I like that.
Now we're going to come up to 2 mini roundabouts in reasonably quick succession. The first one, turn right, and the second one, follow the road ahead.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So at the next roundabout, turn right.
These 2 mini roundabouts can be tricky, but she manages the first one very well. The second one, she's a little bit hesitant. Ziba approaches well, leaning forwards in her seat to get a better view, and observes the entire mini roundabout. This one is no problem at all.
And then follow the road ahead.
I can understand why learner drivers find this tricky, especially when there's plenty of traffic. But the traffic is emerging from her left, and she's not moving. The Mini on her right finally takes its turn, and Ziba takes this opportunity to go. But she definitely could have gone earlier. The Mini ultimately saved her. So this is just a driver fault for undue hesitation. Although the Mini roundabout is far from a complex junction, when busy, they can be incredibly difficult for a learner driver. All Ziba needs to do is start edging forwards now, as this would stop the vehicle behind this grey car from moving. This also creates a shield, preventing the Mini from being able to enter the junction. Ziba is so fixated on the right-hand side that she's not using the left to allow her to proceed. I've said this before, don't just stare right on roundabouts.
And then I'd like you to pull up on the left just before that silver car.
Ziba puts her signal on a little early here, and there are a few pedestrians about, so for this reason, it's a driver fault for signal timed. But as she pulls in, she keeps her eyes front, judging the distance to the curb very well.
Drive on when you're ready. Now on this next junction, if the road markings are really poor, I will help you. Okay? But we're going to be following the signposts to the A1.
The signage on this first junction is not fantastic, and I would expect the examiner to do the same. If it is bad, they should help you. Ziba, though, has no problem, sees the sign and picks the correct lane.
A1 Central London, yeah.
Where's A1? This one, okay.
So this bit she has no problems, but after we enter the dual carriageway, things go slightly wrong. Whenever you're told for your advanced planning in a certain distance you're going to be turning right, you should consider changing lanes early. Ziba initially does look like she's going to move to the middle lane, but then chooses not to. The examiner will remind you again that you are going to be turning right, which is what I do here, but she doesn't heed the warning and waits for the last minute.
Okay, for your advanced planning, at the next set of traffic lights, which is about 800 yards, we're going to be turning right.
Oh, my hands. Signal too early.
That's about 600 yards now. We're going to be turning right.
Okay.
Now would be a perfect time to start moving.
It's now about 400 yards. We're going to be turning right.
I'm starting to think she's not going to make it. She then loses ever so slight control of her steering, and it makes me flinch.
It's still too early.
Corrects it herself, so this is not noteworthy, but she's still not moving across. Somehow though, the traffic gods work in Ziba's favour, and she manages to move easily to the middle lane. And just when I think it's not going to be possible to move to the right, she somehow manages to achieve that too. This was incredibly lucky. The traffic build-up was reasonably heavy, and it would have been far more preferable to have moved much earlier. This is a driver fault for awareness and planning. It may be possible that a driving examiner might let this go simply because she actually made it across without interfering with anybody, but this is a mock test, and because of that, this is definitely a teaching point. Don't wait for the last minute to cross 2 lanes of traffic.
Car's worse than me.
Ziba's talking about this grey car that's got itself stuck in a very awkward position. If this is you, don't do that.
What do you mean worse than you?
I changed lane quite late.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah. I wanted to change at the junction, but I took time to remember that I have to change lane in order to get close to the junction.
It's all good. We'll talk about it at the
Yeah.
end, okay? Okay, so we're going to be following some road signs now, and I'd like you to follow the signposts to Hendon Central.
Ziba again has no problem spotting the sign and knows exactly where she's going.
Straight ahead.
Which is right here.
Oh, sorry.
And then correctly picks the left-hand lane, which is normal driving position. A little further up the road, a car pulls out on Ziba, or pulls out from the side of the road on Ziba, and she thinks she's done something wrong, or that she could have done something better, again highlighting the confidence issue. She's actually already reducing speed, which is exactly what you should be doing if you're expecting the unexpected.
I should have just slowed down a bit more.
Should he have done that? Should he have moved off like that?
We can't prevent the mistakes of others, but what we can do is anticipate and then act accordingly to reduce the risk. In my opinion, Ziba did very well there. She then has a slight stutter on the gears, but in this case, it's not noteworthy.
Continue to follow the signposts to Hendon Central.
Again, Ziba reads the sign well, which is a right turn coming up on this mini roundabout. Ziba again signals a little bit early, but in this case, it's not noteworthy. And the roundabout itself, she manages without a problem.
That's it. It's good.
Ziba again demonstrates how well she can manage the car. I just wish she'd grow in confidence.
And we're now going to be following the signposts to West Hendon.
At this signpost, Ziba makes a slight mistake, so I remind her of where we're going, and she corrects. Again, not noteworthy.
West Hendon, please.
She initially thinks it's turning right, but West Hendon is following the road ahead.
Straight ahead, yeah, sorry.
And she then again correctly picks the left-hand lane for normal driving position. Just after this right turn, I'm going to ask Ziba to find somewhere to pull up on the right in a safe place. And she really struggles with this one.
And now I'd just like you to find somewhere to pull up on the right in a safe place for me, please.
On the right?
Yes, please.
Ziba doesn't assess the road ahead and immediately throws her signal on. However, there are spaces that she could pull up in. And one space she missed, which she could have picked, was here. So she travels a little bit further down the road, and again there are a few more spaces just by this post box, but she positions the car so she's almost past them. Ziba's now a little bit unlucky with oncoming traffic and finds herself waiting to cross the gap. And she forgets that she's still in second gear. She still manages to get across the road, however when she needs to do a correction, she stalls.
Please be the last car.
She then stops in front of a driveway.
Ah, I got in the driveway.
She then loses ever so slight control of the car and does very little to no observation as she moves the car forwards.
I'm going to stop here. Let's not drive very far.
This initial stop next to the driveway doesn't interfere with anybody, and she decides again to move the car forwards. Just like last time, she does a cursory glance in her rearview mirror and then moves the car. She's trying to move into this space, but she's still half blocking the driveway.
All right. Good. Okay. So we're now going to reverse the...
Before we get into that, I think it might be important just to highlight a point that might have made a difference here. Sometimes, and actually more often than not, the road markings are terrible. So looking out for signposts that indicate parking spaces is a very good idea. You could also pull up on a single yellow line, provided it's a raised curb. Just avoid the driveways, as that is a no-no. So I cut that mid-sentence, but that was, Ziba, I'd like you to reverse the
car back about 10 meters, keeping reasonably close to the curb.
Mm-hmm. Can I open the door quickly?
If you think it's safe to do so, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just about 10 meters, keeping reasonably close to the curb.
Okay.
Ziba is now again a bit unlucky because there's a big truck coming towards us that clogs up the road and creates a bit of a traffic jam. This puts her a bit under pressure as she now has to wait for her moment to move. Unfortunately, the moment she chooses, there is a vehicle right in front of us. And not only is it right in front of us, but it's trying to move round us as she starts moving. This, unfortunately, is a serious fault for observation in the reverse exercise. She also neglects the right blind spot. And it happens here. Reversing the car as this vehicle is trying to overtake you is just making that maneuver just a little bit harder for the overtaking car. Ziba should not have been moving then. Her car is also drifting away from the curb, but she's now done her 10 meters, so I bring her to a stop.
Okay.
Why not?
That'll do.
Was it 10 meters?
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to drive on, and then you're going to take that next road on the left there for me, please.
Okay.
Okay?
All in all, an examiner might not give as many driver faults as I have, but this is a mock driving test and I'm highlighting what's not gone quite right. Ziba definitely needs to practice this maneuver. Ziba then struggles slightly to move off from this side of the road as it is quite busy, and eventually a car lets her go. It is possible that this car let her go because she was sticking out a little bit and it was just the safest thing for them to do, again highlighting her end position.
And then take this next road on the left here for me, please.
Again, Ziba signals a little bit early, but in this case, I'm going to put this down as not noteworthy. Zero impact on anybody. We then drive around the block and I ask her to do a pull-up on the left so I can see a hill start.
And then if you can just find somewhere to pull up on the left in a safe place.
When asked to find somewhere, that doesn't mean immediately. Take your time, look for a good spot, and then pull up. If Ziba had looked up, she could see that there would be spaces or certainly a yellow line further up the road. There's no need to try and pull in straight away. Ziba stalls the car because she's trying to move away in second gear, so this is a driver fault for gears. She then tries to pull up in between these two cars, which she could do, but it would be far easier just to go round this last vehicle and find a spot, which she does eventually.
Okay, drive on when you're ready.
Not for the first time, Ziba signals before looking all the way around the car, but in this case, again, it's not noteworthy. There's a slight stutter as she moves off, under control, but she catches it quickly and drives on. We're almost on the home stretch, but there's a couple more items on the agenda. Let's just jump to that.
Okay, and if you just follow the signposts to Aylesbury.
Aylesbury.
Again, Ziba signals incredibly early. This is a driver fault for signal timed.
It's just for that one sign. I'm going to be directing you as normal now. Okay?
We're not going to Aylesbury, are we?
No.
Good.
We're now on a straight run back to test centre. For some reason, Ziba moves into the middle lane for no apparent reason. I later find out it's because she's still continuing to follow the signs for Aylesbury, even though I just told her I'm going to be directing her as normal. It's an easy mistake to make, and I could possibly take some responsibility for the fact that I didn't make it very clear. However, Aylesbury is in the same direction that we would have been heading anyway, because the north is where we're going. But just on the information that I had in front of me of her changing lanes, and then getting past on the left, this would have been a serious fault for normal driving position. She also persists in leaving her signal on again.
Okay, so the traffic lights, we're going to be turning left.
Now, because she had absolutely no reason to be in the middle lane whatsoever, and even though she's trying to move back to the left, this vehicle passing signifies a serious fault for normal driving position.
And after you've done this turn, just when it's safe to do so, if you could put your front demister on for me, please. demister. Your front demister.
Now, in all fairness, Ziba is not familiar with this car at all. She's not done any of her training in it whatsoever. So I'm not blaming her 100% for not knowing where it is, especially as this car, everything is on the touch screen.
I forgot the Mr. Bus. That's the lights.
Okay, don't worry about it. If you just take the next road on the right, just past the traffic island.
Okay.
Ziba waits patiently for her gap, and after this turn, that's the end of the test.
How was that?
Well, I think it was a real shame that in the end I mixed up the show me stuff on this car.
It's okay. Pass or fail?
I think I had lots of minor faults.
Do you think you passed or failed?
Can I be arrogant and say pass?
You can if you want.
I pass.
It's totally fine. It's good. It's fine. Look, before I start, I think there are really good elements in your driving. I can see you are second guessing yourself a lot, and it creates problems for you. So, for example, we go back to the changing lanes, where I gave you the advanced planning of the traffic lights. We're going to be turning right. It's now about 400 yards. We're going to be turning right. You went to move to the middle immediately. You then changed your mind. You then thought about, I'm going to move to the middle. Then you changed your mind. And you waited till the last second.
Yeah.
And then you said to me while we were waiting at the traffic lights, I got lucky there. You did get lucky.
Yeah.
Because I got to be honest, I didn't think you were going to be able to take that turn.
Yeah. I was stupid there for the reason I forgot. Being in the dual carriageway, when you have a turn as a junction to turn to, that means changing lanes as well, so you have to signal for the lanes.
But you knew that because
I just forgot. I remember that towards the end. That's why, it was quite late.
So you initially did that first signal because you thought you were turning right, just from that lane there. You can turn right.
I thought if I signal now, that confuses the drivers that I'm going to change the lane, not turn. It just didn't click in me. Later on, I remember, you have to go to the right lane in order to turn to the right junction. So.
Well, then that highlights exactly what went on there. If we just go back to the fact that you had to change lanes in order to get across, when should we have done that?
Good timing, as early as possible. So I'm the correct lane in terms of, in case there's traffic or cars.
Unfortunately, it's not a pass.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Okay, now, the things that you've done. So, for me, there are three things that we need to talk about, okay? And I've got to be honest, with one of them, possibly it wouldn't be a serious fault. It's possible it could be. The move away from the right exercise, you got yourself, you had loads of spaces that you could have pulled up in before, but you left it and left it and left it. And then you went all the way up the road. And then you got yourself stuck in a really funny position trying to get across the road. Then you stalled. And then you eventually got into position. We're now in position. We start reversing. You started reversing as the car is literally coming around you. Did you see that car coming around you?
I did not.
You didn't see it?
No.
It was just...
I think I was really focused on
it was just as you started moving. There's a car there.
Okay, that's worrying.
What should we be doing at that moment?
I stopped.
The signal. We came off the roundabout right at the beginning. And you left your signal on. Now, there's a junction there. We went past the junction with the signal on, left to exit the roundabout. I didn't say anything. I let you leave the signal on. We drove another 300, 400, 500 meters up the road with that left signal on. If there had been somebody there, I would have had to have intervened and told you to cancel the signal. I think because the distance we travelled and the fact that you left that, even though you didn't, for me that's a bit of a problem. So I'm going to put that down as a serious fault.
The roundabout took a lot of focus and I just forgot.
But you did it well.
Yeah. It's a shame, right?
It is. The thing is, right, so I get it, right? It takes a lot of brain power, but you did the roundabout. The roundabout was okay. Yeah. There was nothing, I couldn't say anything about the roundabout at all. The last one was a little bit weird, right? So it was right at the end, turning left into the dual carriageway, coming down the dual carriageway. I told you to follow the signposts to Aylesbury. We'd already done it.
Yeah.
We were already in position, and I basically said, I'm going to be directing you from there because there's no more signs after that. It was just to turn left, and you turn left. We're then coming down, and then for some unknown reason, you just moved to the middle lane. Not only did you move to the middle lane, but again, you leave your signal on.
In the dual carriageway?
Yeah. So you're now in the middle lane. You've got your right signal.
But then Aylesbury, it showed right. So I thought you want me to change lane to follow the sign, because further in the dual carriageway, there was again Aylesbury sign that shows right. So
do you remember me saying to you, it was just for that one, I'm going to be directing you as normal now?
Oh, okay. No.
Well, I think we were sitting at the set of traffic lights.
Yeah.
Yes, and I just said, it's just for this sign here, we're going to, and I'll be directing you as normal.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, well that's fine. Right, so you thought you were going to be turning right, so you moved to the middle lane, you put the signal on. Okay. It was just a little bit weird. Now, and then what happened was we then got passed on the left-hand side. Now, however, this one, to be honest with you, as regards to it being a serious fault or not, it was, again, I can see now where the confusion is and why you positioned there. It was just a very strange thing to do, and then to have to come back again. This one, to be honest with you, it was only one car that came past us on the left. It was a build-up of traffic. Is it possible they can pass you on the left in the first place? It was just weird that you were there.
Yeah.
So if we talk about some of the driver faults, you got to before starting the engine, you have to adjust that mirror. That's precautions before starting the engine. So you will get a driver fault for that. Mini roundabout, you were a bit hesitant. Do you remember when we were going ahead and there was a car with the signal right, and then there was vehicles coming from the left-hand side?
Yes, I know.
And you were sitting there, and it was kind of like it would have been really nice.
I could have gone, right?
That mini, but the thing is, can the mini move? If cars are coming out from here, can the mini move?
No.
So who's got to move?
I needed to move.
Look, overall, I can see a good driver underneath all of this. You're not confident enough in your own ability. You second guess everything, which we talked about at the beginning. I hope that you got some value out of this video. If you have, obviously hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next one. I hope it's been valuable to you too.
Definitely recommend, really helped, for sure.
And give us some love in the comments, because I think she deserves it. It's been amazing. Yeah. See you in the next one.
Have a good day.
Get well out.